Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. The total list of Utah's COVID fatalities grew to 2,136 today, according to the Utah Department of Health report. There were 3 coronavirus deaths added, and there were 252 new coronavirus cases in Utah since Monday. That includes 11 in the Bear River Health District. From the start of the pandemic, there have been 408,068 coronavirus cases in Utah. In Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties, 21,732 of the 22,025 total cases have been declared recovered. There have been 7,101 vaccine doses administered statewide in Utah since Monday. Total doses during the pandemic has reached more than 2.65 million. Now, most of the northern Utah cases are found in Cache County, with as far as total number of cases since the beginning of the pandemic, 16,133 total cases in Cache County. Almost 48% of all adults in northern Utah have been immunized as of Monday. A total of 137,023 doses have been administered in the Bear River Health District. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Mostly clear skies, cooler, overnight low in the lower 50s. Southeast winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. And then sunny to partly cloudy around 90 on Wednesday, with southwest winds 10 to 20 during the day tomorrow. By Thursday, there's a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. But the big thing is going to be the temperature, much cooler, only around 70 degrees on Thursday. We've been in the 80s this afternoon. 82 has been our high. It's 81 right now. KVNU weather brought to you by the Lawn Doctor. Win the weed battle in your lawn. Call the Lawn Doctor and keep dandelions, thistle, clover, and morning glory at bay. 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCacheValley.com.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley, and as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at CacheValleyPharmacy.com.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. Authorities in Utah say 3 people died in a fiery multi-vehicle car crash on a highway near the Heber Valley Airport. Fox 13 reported that investigators with Utah Highway Patrol said they believe a Jeep traveling on the highway slowed down and was rear-ended by a truck, causing the Jeep to catch fire, travel into oncoming traffic, and crash into an oncoming vehicle. The other vehicle became engulfed in flames as well. Authorities say 3 people died, but they have not been identified. Police said that U.S. Route 189 was closed for several hours as a result of the collision. And mainstream and far-right Republicans are battling for control of the party and the state in deeply conservative Idaho. A mainstream Idaho Republican in many states would be viewed as far-right, but they are being challenged by lawmakers ever further to the right, who envision Idaho as a sovereign nation state free of federal oversight, where they can dictate what's taught in schools and outlaw all abortions. And also the state's far-right Republican lieutenant governor is challenging the party's sitting Republican governor. The lieutenant governor's race has turned into a contest between the mainstream and far-right. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Covering all the news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
Attention homeowners! You may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
He's cared and watched out for you your entire life, even taught you how to catch a fish and swing a bat. But now that he's in his senior years, it's your turn to care for Dad. Giving your aging loved one the attention he or she needs can be challenging, which is why there's Legacy House of Logan. From bathing and dressing to help with medicine, cooking, and housekeeping, Legacy House of Logan is your extra set of hands with an extra gentle touch on 1400 North in Logan and online at legacylogan.com.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown.
This is Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. I would like to invite you to the new Center Street Market, which happens every Wednesday on Center Street in downtown Logan. There will be dozens of vendor booths set up on the sidewalk full of all kinds of fun items to buy or taste. While you're here, stop into Anderson Seed and Garden to see what new items we have in stock. That's the Center Street Market every Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Center Street in Logan.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
You have probably heard some of the rumors circulating about the COVID-19 vaccine, and that's why if you have questions, your best source of information is your own personal doctor. Tests have already shown that the vaccines are effective, and they do protect you and your loved ones. Yes, there are some side effects, but those are minor and very short-lived. So again, talk to your doctor if you have questions about the vaccine. So far, more than 1 million Utahns have been vaccinated, and we need you to get vaccinated too. Getting vaccinated not only protects you, but all those around you.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People, hour one of today's show, Tuesday, June 8th. Technically 3 hours of For the People today. At least that's how I'm spinning it.
What? Is that the new summer schedule?
That's right. Surprise, Bill.
Did I miss the memo?
You don't get to go home tonight. None of us do. No, this is for a very good reason. For those who haven't heard me go on and on about this already for the last couple of weeks, we've actually known for months we were getting to do it, but I thought, if you're like me, and I told you about this in April, you would have forgotten by now. But this very cool thing that's happening. So there is a long time, supposedly statewide outreach program with the governor here in Utah. Happens, sometime for a while there was on a monthly basis, other times on a every other month basis, but regularly happening throughout Herbert and even back into Huntsman's years. But the problem is that it was always done in the Salt Lake City area, and it was always Salt Lake City, Utah County, southern part of the Wasatch Front focused. Once in a while, they'd get, quote-unquote, rural in their conversation and go into Davis County, maybe. But mostly it was talking about those areas, and the callers would be from those areas because that's where the broadcast was. Governor Cox making good on a campaign promise, and also something that was a theme that came up again and again during the gubernatorial primary last year when I think 800 Republicans were running for governor. Spencer Cox, of course, was successful in getting the nomination, then successful in winning the general election with his running mate, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, former state senator until last year. This was a very rural Utah-focused campaign. Governor Cox, remember, started campaigning about 2.5 years ago, and he toured the state in a bus, a green bus. And he said, in the earliest days of his campaign, that one of the reasons he was running for governor is that he wanted the focus to shift a bit. He wanted rural Utah to start getting some attention. And during the gubernatorial primaries, Governor Cox promised that if he was elected, he would do just that he would make sure that time with him, that statewide events, that discussions with the top office of the state would branch out. And, there were discussions during the primary campaign of maybe locating certain offices outside of Salt Lake to do that. Nothing's really moved on that front. In fact, my understanding is the legislature is opposed to that, unfortunately. But one of the things Governor Cox said is that he wanted to make outreach to rural areas a regular thing. So this is actually Governor Cox making good on this. And this is being done with a statewide, first ever statewide partnership of rural radio stations, including us, of course, and the Utah Broadcast Association helping to coordinate some of this. It will happen every other month, ongoing, and it's called Direct Link Live on Air with Governor Cox. And that's happening tonight at 6 o'clock right here on KVNU, and it is a call-in program. It's a different number. To call us here on the show, usually you're calling the studio line of 753-5868, where this is a statewide event, and they do want to encourage calls from all around the state. It is a toll-free number for tonight's Direct Link Live on Air with Governor Cox. I'll be moderating this event, and we'll be taking questions. We will somewhat screen questions, but only in this way. For the sake of time, we're asking all who call in to state their question on air. If you'd like to say your question off air and just have me ask it, that's fine as well. But if you want to go on air, we're asking people to state their question and then hang up, listen to the governor's answer on the airwaves here on our broadcast or wherever this caller might be listening from. So for tonight's broadcast, 6 to 7 p.m. of Direct Link Live on Air with Governor Cox here on KVNU tonight, 6 to 7 p.m. Again, the toll-free number to call in and ask a question live with Governor Cox is 855-399-6800. And I'll be throwing that out throughout the show here today, and of course, many times during the hour next at 6 o'clock. 855-399-6800. Again, this is a statewide event, so there will be callers from St. George. There will be callers from Grand County. There will be callers from the Uinta Basin. Callers hopefully from Rich County, Box Elder County, and for sure callers, hopefully all of you listening now are preparing a question and or thinking of it over the next 2 hours, because I wouldn't mind. They're not listening now, so I can say this. I wouldn't mind if this was a bit of a Cache Valley, Rich County, Box Elder County, thumb on the scale kind of thing with the calls tonight. We deserve the attention. We definitely have enough issues facing us growth-wise and job-wise and everything else, water-wise for sure. We'll get back to that later on the show, by the way, with an announcement from the governor today with the drought in mind. We've got plenty to talk about, even if it was just Cache Valley. Throw in Rich and Box Elder County. Would like to get some calls from the Uinta Basin because there are very challenging, pressing issues on the economic front there in the Uinta Basin as their economy completely shifts. So plenty to talk about, but feel free, our listeners, I'm throwing this out right now, feel free to stack the deck. Don't hold back. If you've got a question for Governor Cox and you've heard 3 callers from Cache Valley, don't let that discourage you. That's fine. Again, the toll-free number for tonight's Direct Link Live with Governor Cox here on KVNU, statewide event broadcast originating right from our studios tonight. The toll-free number will be 855-399-6800. And again, that starts at 6 o'clock tonight. It's going to be tough, Bill. I've got to take off this For the People host costume I wear every day. And
which has a lot of flowers on it and
sure,
everything.
Something you'd see Elton John in, maybe. The big sunglasses. And then I've got to shift into professional. I've got to put that clip-on tie on and shift.
And the smaller sunglasses.
That's right. Yeah. Be ready to host this event tonight. And I'll have probably 15, 20 seconds to do all that. It's going to be amazing. The magic of radio.
It's like being an actor on a stage, a scene change. You just have to adjust.
Before we get to the drought topic, Governor Cox held a news conference today. We'll talk about this in more detail with some clips even from this conference later on in the show. But the governor said this is the data is showing, and this is early in the drought too. Remember that, we haven't even hit.
It's the first week of June.
Yeah, we're not even close to those dog days yet, right? And yet the governor's saying this is the worst drought since 1956, water level wise, and snowpack wise, and the forecast of rain wise, all of that combined, worse since 1956 in the state of Utah's history. The governor announced some restrictions today. Again, we'll talk about those in more detail. We'll talk about what some cities are doing. We'll talk about some pressure growing from the governor's office, the legislature, on agriculture to rein it in a bit this summer as well. Something that can be tough because you're talking about someone's livelihood, not just someone's lawn, when you're asking agriculture to hold back on water use. But that's where we're at, the governor said today. And I thought about this, and the entire time I listened to the governor's comments today, Bill, I thought about this. I don't know if anyone else was maybe outside last night as the sun went down. It was somewhere between 9, 10 o'clock. It felt like the temperature dial just went up 10 degrees. It just went from, it was a nice, like, somewhat cool evening, moderately warm. I was enjoying it, and then as the sun went down, the heat cranked up. And I don't know if you experienced that, Bill, but I felt that, and it just made me think of those dog days that are still coming. It's warm out there. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, you'll be happy to know that Thursday, it's a weird week. It really is weird because tomorrow 90, and then Thursday 70 for the high with a slight chance of thunder, which is not good because it's probably dry thunderstorms.
Sure.
And then upper 70s Friday, and then back up to around 90 on Saturday.
Wow.
So just kind of a late week dip, and then hotter stuff, and then mid-90s by the end of the weekend.
That is interesting. That's just get used to it. Like I said, Governor Cox in a press conference today making an announcement of some restrictions that will apply to state facilities around the state lands around the state, including a fireworks ban. We'll talk about where that will be in effect, but very rare for this to happen in June. We'll talk about that in more detail. On the other side, I'm putting this, Bill, in just the weird news file, but it's one of those stories you read, and as you're reading it, part of you is rolling your eyes and thinking, who cares? And the other part of you is thinking, I'm following every development in this story until it's resolved because I have to know at this point. It's the story of an issue happening in the Salt Lake City avenues involving 9 homeowners in the avenues there who have been told that they now have to pick up their mail each day at the post office. It won't be delivered to their home. The reason stated for this was a supposedly vicious dog, or 2 dogs, supposedly vicious 2 dogs that been causing mail carriers to completely bypass these 9 homes for weeks now. The Salt Lake Tribune decided they were going to go check this out. They were going to go find out why these 9 homes were being bypassed, what these dogs were all about. And so they went there. They found the 2 dogs. There's photos to back this up. The friendliest dogs, according to Salt Lake Tribune reporter Sarah Tabin, said the friendliest dogs I've ever run into on the street. So understandably, questions are now being asked. What gives? These dogs were reportedly vicious, leading to the bypassing of these 9 homes, and these homeowners being told they needed to pick up their mail at the post office each day instead.
Maybe one of the dogs gave a friendly bark or something, and that was misunderstood.
Well, the grapevine, the rumor mill, if you will, is positing that this is actually a long-running beef between some, what I would describe as some snooty homeowners and some mail carriers that haven't liked how they've been treated.
So they're just kind of...
It's like an episode.
Using the dog excuse or something, I guess. Or
it's like some kind of a soap opera, but involving mail carriers, fake vicious dogs, and snooty homeowners. Check it out. I've posted a link to this story on our Facebook page. I don't know what happens next, but that's the big question in this. Everyone from a couple of state lawmakers pondering this today to the journalist who wrote the story at the Salt Lake Tribune, talking about, what are the rules in these situations? The post office has the right or the ability, and the rules are clear, to protect the mail carriers and say, if there's a threat, if there's a dangerous dog wandering loose, even if it doesn't belong to the homeowners, they won't deliver. They'll ask via notification of some kind, put a note on the door, or sometimes even email if a person has put their email address down in their contact information with the post office. They'll get an email basically saying, there will be no delivery. Here's the reason why. It's not uncommon, and again, the rules on this are clear.
Did you mention uniforms at all? I was on the on the phone with a caller who wanted me to mention to you that some dogs just do not like uniforms.
Well, that's what I wondered about this. Maybe it's the mail carriers themselves. Maybe these dogs are actually vicious when the mail carrier comes, because I've heard of that. I've never seen it or witnessed it myself, but I've heard of that. But dogs will react to certain people different ways, right?
But anymore, a lot of the mail carriers that I've seen in my neighborhood are pretty dressed down anyway.
Sure.
It's not much of a uniform.
Especially in these temperatures, shorts and...
Yeah.
Or maybe, and I'm purely speculating at this point. This does not come from the Salt Lake Tribune's reporting at all, but speculating here on my part. Maybe one of these mail carriers kicked at one of these dogs or yelled at it, was otherwise unpleasant, so the dogs treat them differently. That's a possibility. All we know so far is the mail carriers have said that these two dogs are vicious and they won't deliver to these 9 homes. The post office is backing them up, saying, the rules are clear on this. They don't put themselves at risk. You'll be picking your mail up at the post office for an indefinite period of time. The homeowners are saying this is ridiculous. Our dogs are not vicious, and they've lived here for years, and there's never been a problem. Neighbors have backed that up, by the way, in the Salt Lake Tribune's reporting. Salt Lake Tribune reporter went out, found the 2 dogs, and sat with them on the curb. And
feeding them snacks and stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, it seems that it's great as far as these dogs and their friendliness goes.
Well, I think, isn't the rule, that a postal delivery person has to have clear access to the mailbox?
Yeah. There are several reasons.
With no animal, without any dog being in the way of that or close to that.
Well, and that applies to vehicles as well. If you park your vehicle in front of your house in a way that makes it inconvenient for a postal deliverer to pull in their little truck and deliver your mail, they won't. And that's on you, so there are a lot of rules that will lead to a temporary thing. This is an indefinite suspension of mail delivery. It gets even more interesting, though. Resident of the area, a woman named Artis Partial. She, no offense to Artis too, but is there a more Salt Lake City upper bench name
Artist
than Artist Partial?
I am not. I'm not an artist, but I'm named Artist.
That's So her story, as told to the Salt Lake Tribune, is that her mail delivery abruptly stopped being delivered last October, and she doesn't have a car. She for personal reasons wasn't leaving her home a lot during the high rate of COVID-19 spread throughout the fall and winter here in Utah, and she said she had no way to get all the way down to the post office to retrieve it. Now there is a bus route there, but again, during a pandemic, that's something you can understand why a person might want to avoid. So she said after 3 weeks, some stranger from her neighborhood she'd never met before showed up with her mail, doing a good deed. Which also, by the way, included her ballot for the 2020 election when this happened in October. Because he had actually had it delivered to his house by mistake by the post office. He wasn't on the banned list, but they accidentally dropped her mail off at his house, so he brought it up. She said she has spent months in contact with the post office to get her mail delivery to restart. She's also reached out directly to animal control officers. She has also contacted Utah state senators. She said neighbors were originally told mail service stopped because of the dogs on the street, but now the Postal Service has refused to respond to questions and pleas for help, including an offer to meet the dogs. Partial says that the postal officers will not respond to anyone in the neighborhood, and yet are withholding mail from these 9 houses, citing vicious dogs, which again, Salt Lake Tribune reporters went out, met the dogs, so they were very friendly. Though, as Bill mentioned, there's a chance they just treat postal carriers differently. U.S. Postal Service spokesperson Floyd Wagner did respond to the Salt Lake Tribune in this report. This was just yesterday. They heard back from him apparently, and confirmed that mail delivery is stopped for these 9 homes because of dangerous dogs. And he reiterated the policy of the safety of mail carriers being paramount when it comes to Postal Service policy. And he said that due to roaming, unrestrained, and potentially dangerous dogs in the 100 block of C Street neighborhood, blah, 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 putting carriers at risk, they were forced to stop delivery to mailboxes on the front porches of 9 different homes. Affected customers were notified of this danger in November 2020, but unfortunately, the dogs continued to pose a threat to our employees. So the dog owners are currently facing 1 misdemeanor count of animal nuisance and 15 counts of allowing an animal to go at large, according to the Salt Lake County's Attorney's Office. So the dogs being loose is a verifiable problem. Seems easy to solve, right? Dog owner, lock your dogs up. But again, there's this other issue of the dogs being listed as vicious, and yet Salt Lake Tribune going out, meeting the dog, or dogs in this case, and according to the Salt Lake Tribune reporter, did not even bark as she approached the house. Large black dog, very friendly, ran onto the porch, wagged its tail, did not growl, bare its teeth, or snarl, or even bark. The owner, of course, is declining comment due to the pending legal charges, and I guess belligerently refuses to lock the dogs up any more than he or she already is. What a drama playing out around this. Post office ignoring the 9 residents. 9 residents saying these dogs aren't a problem and haven't been for years. Dog owner refusing to comply with Salt Lake City animal law in as far as restraint, not letting your dogs run around the neighborhood. Neighbors kind of defending the practice, saying they've been running around the neighborhood for years. They're not dangerous. They play with children. Postal carriers saying the dogs are vicious and a threat to their own safety. And the end result, 9 homes not getting their mail delivered, having to go to the post office every day to pick up their mail. Dog owner refusing to lock the dogs up, although Salt Lake City, it sounds, for other reasons, is going to be pursuing that problem. And Postal Service employees in the area refusing to interact or even talk with these 9 neighbors. Who knew Salt Lake City avenues could be so exciting? Check it out.
Do a mini-series.
A story right out of a soap opera or a mini-series, right? I expect to see this a Netflix show sometime soon, along the lines of Big Little Lies or what was the Fires one, right in that genre. But a true story out of Salt Lake. Man, we can all be very silly sometimes, huh? 753-5868. For the People continues after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:33, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. President Joe Biden's nominee to oversee vast expanses of public lands in the U.S. West is being criticized by Republicans because of her involvement in partisan politics as a longtime Democratic aide and environmentalist. Tracy Stone Manning has been nominated to serve as director of the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. During a hearing today, Republicans questioned whether the former chief of staff to former Montana Governor Steve Bullock could work across party lines. Stone Manning said she would honor the outcome of the 2020 election after backing Bullock in his failed bid to unseat Republican Senator Steve Daines. Police are seeking information about an Asian food truck in Utah that was damaged with racist graffiti over this past weekend. Layton Police Sergeant Tracy Holcomb said on Monday it's too early to know if it will be investigated as a hate crime. Media reports the world-famous Yum Yum food truck shared photos of the damage on its Facebook account on Sunday, saying they will not let hatred stop them from sharing their culture. The photos show much of the truck covered in white spray paint, including racist slurs and images. The food truck is well known for its Filipino and Asian fusion dishes. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is reopening portions of Temple Square, one of the top tourist attractions in Utah. The phased reopening will begin on June 14th with the church's conference center and additional facilities to follow in the coming months. The area has been closed to the general public and visits except for some limited virtual tours. KVNU News Time is 4:35.
UNI Furniture just acquired an entire showroom of furniture from the Las Vegas Furniture Market. Best Furniture, an American-made furniture company, delivered to UNI sectionals, sofas, recliners, lift chairs, accent chairs, ottomans, benches, and a whole lot more. These are one-time deals that will not be repeated, so shop early for the best selection. It really is just another reason that you'll always find a better buy at UNI Furniture. UNI Furniture, 28 West, 1st North in downtown Logan.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly clear, cooler, low in the lower 50s. Southeast winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Southwest winds still hanging around tomorrow, 10 to 20 during the day. Sunday to partly cloudy, warmer, around 90. And then we take a dip on Thursday with a slight chance of storms, high around 70 on Thursday. In fact, Thursday night, Friday morning, lows in the mid-30s before we start climbing back up to 90 and even mid-90s by the weekend. So temperatures all over the place. Right now it's 81 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Polylift. Homeowners, you may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift concrete raising and piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated. For more details on these and other stories, visit cashvalleydaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Amanda Boydston bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Clayton McMurdy and Edward Jones. U.S. equity markets finished mixed, with the Dow marginally lower and the tech-heavy NASDAQ higher, with no major directional drivers. Stocks are in a holding pattern ahead of Thursday's inflation data. European stocks reached a new high as update GDP data showed that the first quarter contraction in the region was not as severe as initially thought. Oil prices closed above $70 a barrel for the first time in over 2 years. The Dow closed down 30 points at 34,600. The NASDAQ closed up 43 points at 13,925. S&P 500 closed up 1 point at 4,227. In commodity market, the price of oil was up $1.02 at $70.25, and the price of gold was down $3 at $1,895.70. In stocks of local interest, Apple was up 84 cents at $126.74. Autoly was down $1.31 at $105.49. Cabell's was down 34 cents at $49.12. General Electric was down 1 cent at $13.90. Home Depot was up 34 cents at $310.90. Lowe's was up $1.15 at $191.40. Nucor was up $2.62 at $109.99. Procter & Gamble was down $1.58 at $134.84. R.R. Donnelley was no change at $6.59. Thermo Fisher was down $3.45 at $4.41. Wells Fargo was down 50 cents at $46.61. Walmart was down $1.07 at $139.83. Zions was down 1 cent at $57.80. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and Clayton McMurdy, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main in Logan. If you'd like additional information, please contact us at 435-753-0537.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I've constantly been fighting with my weight and thyroid issues for more than 25 years, and none of the doctors in 25 years have ever been able to explain to me what Hashimoto's is, what it means to me, and how to manage it.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
Today, my life is like the minute I get out of bed, I hit the ground running. I'm ready to go. I want to see what today is going to bring, what adventures I'm going to have without pain and with all the energy to do everything that I want to do.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life. With our satisfaction guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
The Elements lunch menu is full of delicious items prepared with a personal touch at an affordable price. Elements wood-fired pizzas and calzones are an excellent choice for lunch that include barbecue chicken, classic pepperoni, or the whiteout with garlic cream, parmesan, house ricotta, and fresh mozzarella. From batter to order halibut with seasoned fries to the fan favorite Thai shrimp curry and more. Lunch at Elements is also available for takeout. Casual or professional. Open Monday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
Adams Wealth Advisors has a team covering all aspects of your financial life. Expect specific guidance from advisors that adhere to principles of honesty, professionalism, and integrity. Adams Wealth Advisors has over a decade of service, earning the trust of the individuals they proudly serve.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com to schedule a time with an advisor today.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just a reminder, bonus hour of For the People tonight. I'm kidding. It's not a bonus hour for the people. It's Direct Link, live on air with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. We're honored to be the host of this event.
We're going from Cove to St. George.
That's right. It is literally a statewide event, and because of that, our studio lines to call in here this evening will be different for that hour alone. So for the people to get us during the show here, you would usually dial 753-5868, our studio line, 753-KVNU. Since this is a statewide event, a toll-free number has been set up for this event tonight. So starting at 6 o'clock as For the People wraps, I'll switch hats quickly. I'll become, instead of host of For the People, moderator of this month's Direct Link event with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. So 6 to 7 p.m. to get through to our studio here to ask a question of the governor. The number is toll-free, 855-399-6800. And again, this is a statewide event, but while they're not listening, I'll go ahead and tell everyone. I have no problem if this becomes so focused on Northern Utah. It so rarely happens that you get to discuss Northern Utah issues with someone who gets to make some very important decisions on many of these fronts, from setting agendas with the legislature when it comes to housing policy, how we respond to growth, coordinating state agencies and counties and cities on those fronts, water management, the future of the economy, agriculture, everything. Those topics are so Salt Lake City centered so many times. I have no problem if tonight the only thing we talk about is Cache Valley, Rich County, Box Elder County, Uinta County. But folks from around the state are going to be able to call in tonight. Again, that 800 number, toll-free tonight, 6 to 7 p.m. here on KVNU. Direct link with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Toll-free number, 855-399-6800. 855-399-6800. That's also on our Facebook page if you'd like to check it there. And that's 6 to 7 p.m. tonight with Governor Cox joining us. All of it right here in our studio. It's an honor to be able to do this. So I'm excited.
And only the second installment for Direct Link.
That's
First
right.
one was early April.
That's right. And this is I'm happy to see this kind of stuff happen. Of course, we have another town hall style event that we do here on For the People, in which we work with staff of Representative Blake Moore's office and our friends at KVEL in the Uinta Basin, basically spanning the entire district between our broadcast and their broadcast. We're able to partner with them every other month for this town hall with Representative Blake Moore. That'll be coming up in the first part of July. And so I'm excited to see this happen, these partnerships between rural radio stations, getting things out of that centered around Salt Lake type model that we've existed in for far too long now, recognizing that the issues of rural Utah are different, and many of them have been sidelined and even put on a back burner for more than a decade. And we talk about this all the time when we talk about the legislature. Our lawmakers, now they do a good job of pushing back against this, but lawmakers in rural areas are outnumbered. Not just Cache Valley, but lawmakers from southern Utah, too. They're outnumbered by the representatives of the Wasatch Front, Salt Lake County, Utah County. Combine all those together. And at times, it doesn't really lead to bad outcomes of bills, because those Salt Lake City lawmakers, those Davis County area lawmakers, Utah County area lawmakers, they're sympathetic to the fact that their issues are very different than the issues of rural Utah. So the outcome of bills, how the vote goes, is usually not adverse for bills attempting to solve problems in rural Utah or tackle issues there. What is a problem, though, is fewer of those bills get heard in the first place because of that imbalance. So many lawmakers from more populous and urban areas of the state, Republicans and Democrats alike, this spans both parties. So it's an unfortunate dynamic of a really intense urban-rural split here in Utah that many other states don't have to deal with. And so I'm excited to see at least the governor's office joining Cache Valley lawmakers, southern Utah lawmakers, rural Utah lawmakers in kind of pushing back against this a little bit and saying, no, we're going to break out of this bubble. And so that's what this Direct Link event tonight represents. It's not only an opportunity for you to interact with the governor live on our airwaves, unscripted, town hall style event for a full hour, but it's also the governor making good on a campaign promise that he was going to raise the profile of rural Utah in discussions about state policy and discussions about executive policy, legislative, and even on down to some of the direction and agenda that the governor's office can help set with counties and cities, working with them. So it's really nice to see this happening. So we're excited. As Bill mentioned, this is the second of these events. They'll happen every other month ongoing. And the location where the studio where this will originate is going to rotate throughout rural radio stations throughout the state with coordination from the Utah Broadcasters Association. Tonight's our turn. I'll be moderating this event. And again, one more time, instead of reaching our studio via the traditional For the People hotline, as I like to call it, 753-KVNU or 753-5868, the number for tonight's live direct link with Governor Spencer J. Cox, it will be toll-free 855-399-6800. As I mentioned, the governor spoke today about water restrictions, fireworks restrictions. He announced some restrictions in a press conference in Salt Lake City today, earlier this morning. And this will affect state lands. This will affect some agricultural communities. And it's definitely going to affect fireworks season because, as the governor said during the press conference today, it's only June. This is what we're announcing so far. So we'll have that coming up for you in an hour or two of today's show. I was hoping to make this happen today. I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I'm that excited about it. But I was hoping to make this a part of the show today. The timing didn't work out, so this will be tomorrow's show, maybe Thursday's show. But the Utah office of it's business.utah.gov. This is the office of the governor's office of economic development, but it's also a long-running, kind of like a quasi-chamber of commerce, except they don't have a budget to spend on anything. This is just spotlighting businesses and organizing and coordinating businesses in different communities, interacting with each other. And there's some great services there. If you're a business owner, you've probably used some of them. This also is done by the state of Utah in conjunction with the National Small Business Association. So some amazing resources there. But one thing they do is each month they spotlight a business. And along these same lines of Governor Cox kind of pushing things to be a little more rural, to focus more on some of these rural issues and rural topics and things like that, they're also now under this new administration expanding out this monthly spotlight on a business. And the spotlight this month was on a Box Elder County business that I had no idea this was happening right here in our own backyard. And again, I'm not going to reveal too much of what I've been told already because it's just that cool. But my first question, of course, is how do they do this? And my second question is where do they do this? When the answer came back, Brigham City, wow, I was blown away. Maybe I'm just new to this and everyone else knew, but there is an internationally recognized bowling ball manufacturing company in Brigham City, Utah. It was the spotlight at utah.gov's business section through the Governor's Office of Economic Development this month. They've also received recognition from bowling competitions for as far away as the Netherlands for these famous, sought-after, usually used only by professional bowlers, bowling balls. And they're going to be joining us. Again, this was planned for today. It's fallen through due to scheduling conflicts, unfortunately. But they've promised that the representative will be joining us either tomorrow or Thursday on the show. And in addition to spotlighting the work they do and how cool it is this is in Brigham City, how they got international recognition, we're also just going to walk through something I know I've always wanted to know. How do you make a bowling ball? That's coming up on a future episode of For the People. I was hoping to be able to say that was coming up next hour, but unfortunately, things are a little hectic for them.
That's a very unique sports.
Yeah, this is
with unique equipment.
I think that is so cool. And again, maybe a lot of folks knew. I had never heard this before, but this company operates right out of Brigham City, Utah. It's Storm Bowling is the name of the company. And if you'd like to see the spotlight at utah.gov, I've linked to that on our Facebook page. There'll be guests with us on a future show this week.
Cool name, too.
Storm Bowling. I like that. And we'll talk about some of the awards they've won, why they're winning these awards for these bowling balls, why professional bowlers have bumped them up into the prestigious must-have category for professional bowlers. And then also, again, we'll just walk through how exactly one makes a bowling ball, because I had no idea. And it's really fascinating. So, again, that was planned for hour 2 of today's show, but unfortunately we're going to have to postpone that until tomorrow or even Thursday. But we promise we'll make that happen. If you'd like to see the profile from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, again, I've linked to that on our Facebook page at facebook.com/KVNUFTP. And we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Hi, this is Dr. Monty Carlson from Hyde Park Dental. I have some very exciting news. Dr. Brad Bills and I are going to partner to help make Hyde Park Dental one of the premier dental practices in Cache Valley. Dr. Bills will bring his experience in many areas to Hyde Park Dental. He loves treating children and provides comfortable, pain-free dentistry to everybody. I'm thrilled to have Dr. Bills at Hyde Park Dental. I know you will come to love and appreciate him as I do.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Bills. I am as excited as Dr. Carlson to be joining forces. Like Dr. Carlson, I have practiced dentistry for over 30 years in the Valley and love helping my patients be healthy and have fantastic smiles. I also love being able to offer laser dentistry. Treatment with a laser is fast, pain-free, and often eliminates the need for a shot and no numb mouth. The excellent care you have received through Dr. Carlson and myself will continue with even more fantastic services and care. Call us today at Hyde Park Dental to schedule an appointment. Dr. Carlson and I are excited to see you.
If you've lived here most of your life and never seen the sights of Logan Canyon, then this is your summer. Make plans right now to rent a side-by-side or schedule a horseback ride from Beaver Creek Lodge, the Korean warplane crash site, Ephraim's Grave, Temple Peak, the Paris Ice Caves. They all make great side-by-side rides. Gibson Lakes, Peter Sinks, even into St. Charles or Fish Haven for a raspberry shake. Beaver Creek Lodge of beautiful Logan Canyon offers side-by-side rentals or, if you prefer, horseback rides. See what you've been missing up Logan Canyon. Go to beavercreeklodge.com. Beaver Creek Lodge. Small lodge, big adventure.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, it helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Utah Army National Guard. Aired by the Utah Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. Inside D.C. politics, how one Democratic senator toes the line in a deep red state. Also, Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to Mexico to discuss the migrant crisis at the southern border. Plus, Amazon is out with a new service that shares your internet connection with neighbors. What's that mean for privacy? And 4 ways to beat inflation. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Where are we at temperature-wise, Bill? Been talking about the heat, but
81 right now, so it's comfy.
Like Arctic compared to the temperatures of the last few days.
Mid-30s Thursday night, Friday morning.
Really?
Yeah. So
like
strange weather this week.
Like you said, a weird week. Courts gradually reopening in Utah. The reason this is kind of a big deal is the backlog is huge. More than 15 months here in the state of Utah that, things that could only really happen in person. Jury trials, there are other hearings that might, for reasons specific to that hearing or specific to the individuals involved, might require in-person hearings. And so a lot of these have just been on hold for more than a year. Last Friday afternoon, Utah Supreme Court Chief Justice Matthew Durant issued an order allowing the state courts and justice courts to kind of slowly open things back up. They've been in a red phase throughout the last 15 months, allowing virtual hearings only. The order, which began yesterday under Friday's release, the direction from the courts are basically given the flexibility at this point to determine how to proceed. So the Supreme Court Chief Justice isn't saying, here's what you have to do. They're saying, go ahead and do what you're comfortable with. To an extent, they're still calling this a yellow phase, meaning that there are some things that the oversight of courts here in Utah through the Supreme Court Chief Justice that they're still not allowing. Courts are encouraged to continue scheduling remote hearings when possible, and the order authorizes courts to expand in-person hearings and trials, quote, where appropriate for conditions. And those conditions could mean everything from, available courthouse space, courthouse design in some areas is going to be an issue. There's still a lot of reason to be careful about keeping people distant and being careful about the spread. I mean, it's still out there. As you heard from Bill there, there have been, deaths here in Utah just in the last 24 hours. There have been cases of the virus spreading, although, again, the numbers remain encouragingly low. It's winding down, but it's still out there. So the courts don't want to be responsible for anyone getting this and even worse, getting it and ending up in the hospital or dying. So the order says basically be careful. But what's really interesting me about this is how much things screeched to a halt when here in Utah in-person hearings were not an option. That there aren't backup plans for this. Obviously, your justice system can't shut down for 15 months. You can't keep people in jail for 15 months because there's a pandemic. Although in some states there have been stories of exactly that happening, but it should be very much prosecuted as unconstitutional. This is, we need a better plan. Even if it's not 100 years until our next, or even if it is 100 years until our next pandemic, let's get on this one. It makes me nervous that the court system, the justice system, because we were unable to meet in person, could not function fully. That shouldn't be the case in 2021. So I'm hoping we see some push for upgrades on this front. Cross your fingers. Full story on this real.